Do you like Euphoria? Oh yeah? Well then welcome to hell, bitch.
I'm waking up.
That's right. If you like Euphoria, that means you support this guy. And good guess, but no, that's actually not Dracula's emo son who doesn't want to be a part of the family business. That right there is Sam Levinson, the creator of Euphoria. And if you like anything that his name has ever been attached to, then you're actually a huge piece of shit. And I'm honestly sorry for all the jump scares when his picture comes up, but he just looks like this in every single picture. He looks like a crow named Trent with a trust fund who just got off a 10-day bender. Truly the stuff of nightmares. Now, Sam Levinson has come under fire this past week on Twitter after Rolling Stone published an article about his new show, set to release later this year, called The Idol. It stars The Weeknd and Lily Depp and follows the life of a troubled pop star as she navigates the sleazy underbelly of Hollywood. Speaking of sleazy underbellies, I'm sorry about the crop top, I thought we'd be shooting at a different angle. This is where The Weeknd's character comes in as the owner of a popular LA nightclub and the leader of a cult akin to Scientology. Okay, loudmouth, this is great and all, but what is this, E-News? Get to the fucking point. Okay, I'll feed you, baby bird. Chirp, chirp, chirp. Chirp, chirp, chirp. The Rolling Stone article in question titled The Idol: How HBO's next Euphoria became twisted torture porn, released March 1st and started quickly making the rounds on Twitter. The main quote from the article that people were citing was from a production member of the show that stated, quote, "It was like any fantasy that any toxic man would have in the show, and then the woman comes back for more because it makes her music better," end quote. The article also goes into detail about how the original director, a woman by the name of Amy Seimetz, was fired after The Weeknd, the co-creator of the show, felt the direction of the show was lending itself too much into the female perspective. Now, for my male audience, the female perspective, when it comes to you in the bedroom, is a laundry list of regrets and a total lack of satisfaction. Levinson was then brought on to direct. He's behind me, isn't he? Sources say that Levinson ultimately scrapped Seimetz's approach to the story, making it less about a troubled starlet falling victim to a predatory industry figure, and more of a degrading love story with a hollow message that some crew members describe as being offensive. This brings us to the main point of why I wanted to make this video. Should Sam Levinson be cancelled for terrible writing? Now that statement might seem ludicrous, and if it does, congratulations, you don't have Twitter brain rot. Unfortunately, 450 million monthly users can't say the same, I myself being one of them. One user commented under The Weeknd's response to all this, which we'll get to in a bit, referring to the controversy as the allegations. The tweet has garnered over 8,000 likes. Allegations? It's about a fictitious show. I mean, what the fuck are we talking about here? Now, I want to make this very clear. This is not a video defending Sam Levinson. I mean, this isn't exactly the face of a hill you want to die on. In fact, it looks much more like the face of a man who is brutally murdering you on a hill in a nightmare. The point I'm trying to make here can be summed up by one tweet. This person is responding to the first person who is referring to everything as the allegations. The user says, "OMG, the world is burning and people are campaigning against a fictitious show that depicts Hollywood as being fucked purely because they read a Rolling Stone article. Forgive me for not taking any of this too seriously. The show isn't even out yet. 1. And 2, it is meant to, whether it's done a good job of this or not, show the fucked up side of Hollywood and how disgusting it can be. And I know just how disgusting it can be, because I live here, and I only shower once every other blood moon." Now, The Weeknd responded to this controversy with this clip from the show.
Rolling Stone came back to us about a cover, and I think it's worth pursuing.
Rolling Stone? Are they a little irrelevant?
It's a cover. It's a heritage brand. I think it's fail-safe.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it might be kind of past its prime. You know what I mean?
Yeah, nobody cares about Rolling Stone.
Well, I know a few writers over there that I think would handle whatever we want to do with them in a really careful way, which I think is important at this point.
Rolling Stone has 6 million followers on Instagram. Half of them probably bots.
Well, I don't know about that.
And Jocelyn has 78 million followers.
I am aware of her follower count.
All real, I'd assume. So she does a photo shoot, she tags them, they get her followers, more money for Rolling Stone, nothing for Jocelyn.
So there's a lot for Jocelyn.
Not on Rolling Stone.
Now, god-awful acting aside, he's basically saying that because the show calls Rolling Stone irrelevant, this might be in part why the article was released. And although it has a ton of likes, it also received a ton of pushback. Now again, I think criticism to all of these things, should they pan out to be true, is totally valid. The second season of Euphoria certainly started to show the cracks in Sam Levinson's writing ability, but to take it to the extremes that Twitter has just seems absolutely ridiculous. This is also coming off the back of some pretty serious retroactivism. a word I just made up, about Euphoria's mishandling of certain character arcs, and the hyperbole of these characters that are supposed to be in high school, dealing with some very adult-like problems like sex and drugs. The main ones that I've seen being pointed out are Kat's character in season 1 being and these are not my words, a fat girl's empowerment story being directly tied to her doing sex work, and the main character Rue glorifying drug use. And though I think the argument about Kat has a bit more merit, a counter-argument to this can be summed up by a couple of Reddit replies I saw that I liked a lot. The first one says, I don't see anything romanticized in this show because I don't want anything that happens to these characters to happen to me or somebody I care about. The whole show is formed around the worst possible scenario happening to each character in every situation. That's exactly why everybody watched and it gets so much publicity. People bitching about what's their own version of the story should be for each character is ridiculous. The other reply states, this is not a show about empowerment and uplifting endearment. It's a dark and gritty take on what it's like to be a teenager in really dark scenarios. Jules seeks validation and it takes her to dark places. Rue is a drug addict and that speaks for itself. Nate is a sociopath and does evil and cruel things to people. Cal is secretly bisexual and leads him to being a sex offender. Kat decides to embrace her image and it leads her into a disturbing world of sex work. I don't understand why everyone thinks it's just Sam being a creep. It's a TV show, and TV shows these days are saturated with disturbing concepts and sickening ideas. As a recovering drug addict myself, I've been sober for over 3 years. In my opinion, the show does not glorify drug use. In fact, I relate so much to Rue at certain points that it can get hard to watch the show, as I've gone through some extremely similar situations to Rue, even when I was in high school. And honestly, it can really serve as a great reminder as to why I'm sober today. But again, this video is not about defending Euphoria or defending Sam Levinson's writing. It's about whether or not we should be referring to what's happening to fictitious characters as allegations, and whether or not Sam Levinson should be taking this much heat all because of the concepts he's choosing to write about. He's behind me, isn't he? The answer for me is pretty easy, no. But maybe I'm missing the mark here. If you disagree with me, please let me know below. I'd love to actually have a talk about it, and I'm certainly open to changing my mind. And I'd actually love to hear somebody's opposing view on this, just not from an angry mob on Twitter. If you like this video, be sure to like and subscribe, and by the way, I stream on Twitch every day. It's actually what supports this. So if you like Twitch, and you like me, seems like a match made in heaven. Link in the description. And of course, a huge shout out to our patron, singular, for now, Hiding Master! If you want to support the channel like this absolute badass, there's a link to my Patreon below.